from a Mishnah at the bottom of Daf Tzadik Chesamid base. So we're going from 98 to 99. Let me see if I can find my pointer. Where's my pointer? Disappeared again. Okay, well, you want me? Oh, give me the finger. Okay, so it says the Mishnah, Nosan lo'umnin l'sakin. A person gave a product to an umnin to fix, vilkilkaloi, and not only did he not fix, he messed it up. Chayavin l'shalem, you're mechuyev to pay. The Mishnah is not giving us specifics of precisely what happened, but now the Mishnah gives us a very specific case. Nosan l'cheresh, you gave to a carpenter, not a deaf man, a carpenter. Could be carpenters because they constantly banging nails, eventually they go deaf. You see that's where it comes from? A charash. Okay, maybe that makes more sense. Nasan the charash, sheda, teva umigdal, some type of box, cabinet, whatever it was, lisakain to repair, the kilka, and he messed it up. Chayav l'shalem, the uman has to pay. The uman has to pay the damages. Okay? Vabanoi, what about a contractor who was hired to dismantle a wall, but of course saved individual bricks because the building materials were very valuable. They didn't have Home Depot in days, so you could just go buy new ones. But Vishibur Havonim, he broke some of the stones. Oisha Zikam, or not sure that means he damaged the stones. Chayav l'shalom, again, the builder who's deconstructing the wall has to pay for the damages. What if he was taking apart the wall on this part, and then on the other side of the building, the wall fell down? So that's potter because that's not related to his work. Then it's chayv. So the first question that pops up over here is there's a rule Adam muad lo'olam. So vosep is nasan lo'umin l'sakin. Anyone who causes damage has to pay. So we had a Tosfos at the beginning of the Masechta where Tosfos taught us that we say Adam Muad La'olam is not completely unregulated. There's actually rules to that, and certain onuses. In fact, even if you say Adam Muad La'olam, he would not be chayav for. And Tosfos there explained that an onus dumya da'aveda you'll be chayav for, and an oinus dumya de geneva you won't be chayav for. In other words, an oinus that something happened only because of you and nothing else was involved, that's when you say adam mud lo'ilam. But if the oinus is like geneva, meaning someone who was there to take something away, such an oinus could be you don't say adam mud lo'ilam. But if you're a paid uman, your liability, your responsibility is higher, and you'll be chayav. Amar Vasi, loy shanu elashanosan l'charash sheda teva umigdal. It was missing some nails, it was loose, and you gave this cabinet to the carpenter to fasten it together with nails. And he whacked a nail into it, and it broke, cracked. I guess he didn't whack the nail properly, maybe he should have pre-drilled it. Whatever the case is, he caused it to break. But he never improved it at all. What if you just gave him boards? Now he was mishabeach because he changed it from wood into a cabinet, and then after he made a cabinet and he's mishabeach the wood, then the shibron, then the halacha is potter. Then the omen will be potter. Why will he be potter? It doesn't mean potter and ganzen. Of course, he'll have to give back the value. Thank you so much. He has to give back the value of the wood. He's potter from paying for the value of the shade of teva migdal, which is worth so much more than the wood. My time. Why is that? Because the shade of teva migdal that this uman made out of the wood is his. He didn't damage your shade of teva migdal. He might have damaged your wood, but he didn't damage your shade of teva migdal. Uman koina b'shvachli. Chiddush is that when an uman improves a keli, he's koina it. Now we're going to see that there's rules to that. And we don't just say he's always koine. It depends on what he was hired to do. Okay, so Tanan we learned our Mishnah. The first case was very vague. Nosan lo umnin v'kilkaloi chayav nashal. My love, what would be the case referred to in the Reish of the Mishnah? The yoav lehu eitzim. He must have given him wood, because the second case is where he gave him already a pre-constructed box. The Reish must be a different case where you gave him wood and you constructed it into a box, and it still says chayav l'shalom. So you should have arrived from here that ein umen koina b'shvach kli. And when he made it into a box, that box now belongs to the Bailim, and now he damaged the Bailim's box. Zokta Gemara, no, we're going to protect Rabasi. Loi, Sheda, Teva, Umigdal. It's speaking where you originally gave the Umen a Sheda, Teva, Migdal, which means that was always the Bailim's. But if it was made by the Umen, then the Umen gets it. Freit the Gemara, why would the Mishnah repeat the same case twice? The very next case, Hamidikatani, Seifa, Sheda, Teva, Migdal, Michlal, the Reisha, where it was a generic case, not on the Umnin, must be speaking Eitzim. Otherwise, it's exactly the same case as the next case in the Mishnah. Zoktamar, in fact, it exactly is. Amri Perushi Kamafarishla. Actually, the second case of the Mishnah is explaining the circumstances of the first case of the Mishnah. Ketzad. Nosan Umnin Lasakin Vilkilkala Chayavin Lashalom. What is an example of a case where you gave something to an Umin and they messed it up, and now they're mechuyev to pay? The specifics of the case are going to the next Mishnah to go into Nasan Lechera Sheda Teva Migdal. It actually makes sense to learn pshat like that in the Mishnah, even without this kash on Rabasi. The Ketzad Katani, that the second case is merely describing a specific case where the first halacha applies to. The Solkadaitach Reisha Eitzim. If you're going to tell me the Reisha is speaking in the case where the Bailam gave the Uman Eitzim and he made it into Kalim, and even there, the Uman is chayav to pay for the whole value of the Kalim, then I would make a kal v'chomer. Hashtashminon, if the first case tells me Eitzim chayavin l'shalem, even if I only gave the Uman Eitzim and he made it into a Teva, he's still mechuyev to pay for the Teva. V'lo yamrin an Uman koine b'shvach Kalim, and you don't say that he was koine. So in the second case, where the Bailam gave the Uman already a prefabricated Sheda Teva Migdal, Miboy, surely the Uman has to pay. So therefore, it makes sense to say that it's a different case. Zok to Gemara, that it's the same case. It's merely explaining. Zok to Gemara, that's not a raya. Imishum hala irya. From that alone, it's not a raya. You want to shtel it ein by the same case to save Rabasi, fine. But to say it's muchach minei obey in the Mishnah, that I would disagree, because it could have said a bigger chiddush in the Reisha than in the Seifa. Are you going to ask if I know the Reisha halacha koshka in the Seifa? No, because I would answer on the Seifa l'gluya Reisha. The Reisha is not clear what the case is, so I needed the case of the Seifa to tell me that the first case cannot be speaking where I gave him a Sheda Teva Migdal, because that's what the second case says. Must be a bigger chiddush. So I tell him a Reisha Sheda Teva Migdal. I will eat some loy. Tana Seifa Sheda Teva Migdal. Michlal, the Reisha has to be a bigger chiddush. Eitzim v'afilu hachi chayiv l'shal. So what we've taken out of here so far is that Rabbi Asi holds that Umen Koine b'shvach kli. The Gemara challenged Rabbi Asi for our Mishnah. The Gemara neutralized that challenge. The Gemara tried to turn it around and bring a raya to Rabbi Asi from the Mishnah, and that the Gemara did not succeed in. So our Mishnah is neither a raya nor a kasha on Rabbi Asi, and we're standing with Allah of Umen Koine b'shvach kli. We have one little problem, because Gemara allows learning that the second case of the Mishnah is explaining the first case of the Mishnah. So let's read the Mishnah inside, and you tell me if it makes sense. Nosan lo'omdan l'sakin v'kilkalu chayavin l'shalom. L'chara sheda teva migdal l'sakin v'kilkalu chayav l'shalom. It says chayavin here, so it's a different case. What it should have said is, if it's explaining it, is Nosan lo'omdan l'sakin v'kilkalu. Nosan l'chara sheda teva migdal l'sakin v'kilkalu chayav l'shalom. It should only have one psak if it's one case. If it's two separate, if it's one halacha, why are two piskei halacha? Chayav and l'shalom and chayav l'shalom. Does that kasha make sense? So it's not my kasha; it's Tosfos' kasha. So Tosfos speaks out something very interesting. Tamer fake Tosfos. B'lei parach yihachi chayav and trezimni lamali. Get the parach b'perakamis and hedrin. Yihacha shloisha lamali. Zok Toisus uvekam makoim is daik, uvekam makoim is loy daik. Sometimes the Gemara asks such a question, sometimes the Gemara doesn't. Toisus is the one who noticed that this pattern, so Toisus probably knows why. I don't. But Al Kol, it's a aura, but it's something that we don't have to worry about. Zok the Gemara lema Messiah. Now let's try to bring a riot to Ravasi that Umen Koinim B'Shvachli. Hanois and Semer L'Tzav. Someone gave wool to a dyer to dye the wool. Vikdicha Yoira. Now, Vikdicha Yoira means it got burnt. It ruined the dye got ruined and it ruined the wool. But whose fault was it that the dye got ruined? And I don't even know if it makes an afkamina whose fault it was. But I'm going to read Rashi. I'm going to read Likuda Rashi, and I couldn't find anybody who makes any comment about it. But Rashi says, Vikdicha Yoira niskalkal hatzeva ma'atzmai. To me, that tells me that it went bad due to no fault of the employee, right? That's my. But if you look at the Likudei Rashi, I mean, I don't know if this makes an afkamina because no one says anything about it. The Likudei Rashi says, "Sarfasa yoira, the pot burnt it. Shehersicha yoisimidai." Doesn't that sound like it's the cook's fault? So again, it doesn't make an afkamina anyway because he's an umen. And we said earlier that an omen is chayiv ba'insin, even by an oinus gomer, that a regular person wouldn't be mechuyivin. But it's interesting that there's this distinction, and I'm not sure if it's even something that's worthy of pointing out. It just, I was trying to figure it out for myself. So what is that halacha? Noisin loy demeit tzemri. All the omen has to give the owner is the value of the tzemri at the beginning. So what happened over here? The tzemmer came in, he dyed it, it improved, it was worth $10, now it's worth $20, and it got ruined. Do I have to buy him $20 because I ruined his dyed good wool? No, I only have to pay the uman only has to pay the bailam $10, the value of the raw wool. The made tzemmer ushvachay. Wouldn't that be a raya that uman kind of b'shvachli? Because when the wool was improved and became worth more, that improvement is umin kaina. That umin kaina. So therefore, he doesn't have to pay the bailam for ruining his dyed. He only has to pay the umin, the bailam back for the raw material. So you have a raya that umin kaina b'shvachli. Zakma, you don't have a raya. Lav shekticha la'achan afila. Wouldn't we say that the case was that when did the dye go bad? After the dye was absorbed already into the wool, and the wool has already improved. The ika shvacha, where there's shvacha already, and why wouldn't the uman have to pay for a greater loss? Because the bailam now has wool that's dyed that's worth $20. Why doesn't the uman have to pay for that? This seems to be a raya to Rabasi. Omar Shmuel deflects that raya. Maybe hacha b'may askinon kegoyin shek dichoy b'shas nefila. Who said first the wool took on its dye, became worth money, and then it went bad? Maybe it went bad even before you put the wool in. It was bad from day one, so the wool was never improved, and that's why you only pay the meit tzemrei, because that's all there is. Because there is no shvach. It messed it up. My Shmuel seems to be saying that you would have to pay for the shvach as well, meaning einom and koine b'shvachli. Does that mean Shmuel is actually taking a position against Rabasi? And if in fact Shmuel is taking a position against Rabasi, who do we paskin like? We're going to paskin like Shmuel, because we always paskin like Shmuel. Lema Shmuel, less later Rabasi. Do I have a raya from Shmuel's comment that in fact he disputes Rabasi? Amar loch Shmuel will say not lav davka, because maybe we're speaking about a whole different case. Hacha b'may askinon kegoyin de tzemer v'samonim de balabayis. Normally, when someone gives wool to an uman, the uman provides the dye, right? The uman's providing a dyeing service. Here, the bailim also provided the dye. Kegoyin de tzemer v'samonim de balabayis, and he's not hiring me as an uman, as a kablan. I'm going to pay you $20 to improve my wool. Rather, I'll pay you for 2 hours of your work. I'm hiring you as a hourly employee to do the work for me. So there, versteht sich, I'm not going to b'shvach. I'm not a woman. I'm just an hourly employee. So this opens us up. Could be, we could say, being that we're within 30 days of a siyum, we can say that the Lublina strikes again. Because what do we say in the siyum? We say, Anu amelim v'hem amelim, Anu amelim m'kabel b'sachar, v'hem amelim v'hem m'kabel b'sachar. Stel sich the Frage, the Chavetz Chaim asks, what do you mean, Hem amelim v'hem m'kabel b'sachar? The famous Chavetz Chaim. Everyone gets paid for their work. The teretz is, we're speaking about a kabbalah. What if you're a shoemaker and you're hired to make a beautiful pair of shoes and you work on it for hours and hours and the shoes don't come out, they don't work, they're broken, it just doesn't work out. You get paid? No. So you worked very hard and you don't get paid. On the other hand, if you hard of it and learning for 12 hours and you still don't have a foggiest idea of shouting the Gemara, we get schar. Because we're paid for the amelas. They're paid for the results. But when you learn Torah, you're paid for the amelas. Then you're paid no matter what. Right. But therefore, since we're paid for the amelas, we're like Agar Yadehu de Shako. We always get paid because we're just being paid for our labor. And in this case, that's what it was. He was not a woman. Frag the Gemara, if the Tseva belongs to the Baal and the wool belongs to the Baal, well, then the Hachi, well, then you have over here an employee who messed up not only the wool of the Bailam, but the dye of the Bailam. See, this is where it makes a nafkamina. Was it his fault or not? From Rashi Mashma, even if it wasn't his fault, you were the worker, you're chayiv other bud la'olam. When you're paid, you're chayiv even for an oinus gomer, and therefore you should pay for the samanim. So how could you say pshat that Shmuel's going to learn this way? Ella Shmuel dechuya kamat chalei. Shmuel wasn't really taking a position that I hold that Einom kind of b'shvachli. No, he was just saying you don't have a right from here that Einom kind of b'shvachli. There are other ways to learn. So therefore, we won't take away from this that Shmuel paskins Einom kind of b'shvachli, because maybe Shmuel agreed to Rabasi that Einom kind of b'shvachli. Rather, he was just trying to deflect the riot. Tashma. Someone gave his beggar to an uman. I'm not quite sure what he wanted the uman to do. Gomrai, the uman finished his work, and he notified the owner, come pick up your beggar, it's completed. So means he finished his work. If he finished his work, is there not a rule of biyoyim titin schoroi? Zogt the brisa afilu mikan vadasar yomim einoy over love mishum leisolim. Why? Because the clock doesn't start to tick until you give back the item. And we're going to see this again today, that even though there's a halacha b'yom titin schoroi, it only is triggered once you give back the item. Merely telling him that the item is ready doesn't matter. Nos noloy b'chatzi hayoyim. What if you gave it to him in the afternoon? That creates a trigger. Kivan sheshaka olav achama over olav mishum baltol. Vice the Royce that it's referring to an uman as well. But Frag the Gemara, a very good kasha. Exactly what the Gemara is about to ask, I think, is what bothers you. The Frag the Gemara, if you hold uman koine b'shvach kli, then you're not paying me for my labor. You're paying me to buy the improved keli. You're buying a product for me. Am I over mishum balton? Why would someone be over balton in the case of an uman who is koine b'shvach kli? It's merely a sale. I'm merely selling you an improved product. Zokt Rashi, am I over hazavuna kamaz v'lay nehalei v'loy schirasi? It's not a schirasi. I think that's what he's touching on. Zokt Gemara, Amar of Mari Bared Rav Kahana. You're right. If you hold uman koine b'shvach kli, in a regular case of a kabbalan who took in something to improve, there will be no ishal sold, because it's not called working for a guy. It's called selling him an improved product. So what is the case of this price that we just quoted, where there was someone who seemed to be providing a service, where there is a chiyav of Israel Baltal, Amar Mori Bordav Kana, Begarded the Sarbala. We're speaking about, I think it's a heavy felt beged that all it needs is some basic combing. The leka shvach. There's no shvach in it. There's no shvach in it. Rashi's Pierce Lisroy. All you're really doing is you're combing it to a guess that doesn't create a shvach. Right, the Gemara, of course, there's a shvach. Saif l'mayar with the help. L'rekuche. Why did he give it in? Because it's going to soften it. If it was not doing any shvach, why would he even given it in? Right? Kishmak, the Gemara asks a very practical question. L'rekuche. Given the rekuche, hainu shvacha. That is the shvach. It's off now. So that's not a good option. The agre levici. Bitcha b'mosa. What is bitchi? There's actually two pshatim in what bitchi is. There's Rashi and there's Lekute Rashi. So, okay. I don't know what it means there, but I can tell you what it means over here. Klappen. Right? So what it means is you stamp it. So Rashi says over here it means it's like a ringer. You wash a beged. After you wash it, you have to squeeze it out and press it out, which is Rashi said to squeeze it out. And the hisna imai schum hadricha is called richa b'mo. Basically, I'm paying you for each press. One press for one mo, right? So you step on it, you wait it. I don't know exactly what it is, but each one of these things is b'mo. So therefore, let me ask you a question. If I pay you by the action, every press is a mo, would you consider that a schir yoim and b'yoim etin schari, or is that still considered a kablan? I'm paying you for the action. So Rashi tells us this you treat like a schir yoimhu, but like kablan the likle b'shvacha. Because I'm not paying you for results. I'm not paying you because the beged will be better or not. I'm paying you per punch. The Lakuta Rashi and Tosfos brings down a shita is that when you take a brand new beged from the weaver, what you do is you put it to water and you pound it in the water. I guess that makes that improves the fabric in some way. So once again, I'm paying you per bang. Since I'm paying you per bang, that's not considered baltolan. I'm just going to look at Tosfos at the end of Tosfos, the second Tosfos on top. I'm just going to yes beforshim the chiagre levetushe over mishum baltolan abitcha kamais. Oh no, sorry, that's the second shot. That's a whole different shot. So umiyah loy bekabalonos askinon elo beschiras ben yashpiach loy ben loy yashpiach sachar lefeminia betishos. Since I'm only arguing you for the pounds, not for the result of the pounds, I'm just paying you kach v'kach b'dishas v'kach v'kach mois. That is considered like a schiyom, and therefore the chiyuvim of leisolin of b'yometit and sorai do apply. Gewaltig. Zok to Gemara, the Hainu skiers. When we first started to analyze this price, and we wanted to bring a raya that ein umen koine b'shvach kli from this price, we were learning pshat in the brisa that it was a regular case of kablonas. And the only reason why we changed from that is because it involved the problem with umen koine b'shvach kli. But without that, you would have been happy learning it was a case of kablonas. So for the Gemara, look at that in the Korah. The Agri Levici, where you weren't paying him by the punch, it was regular kablonas. You were paying him for the improvement to his product. That should be a right to Reb Sheshes. The Bava in Reb Sheshes, they asked the following question of Reb Sheshes: kablonas, by kablonas, over a love mishum baltolan, or ain't over, or you're not a mishum baltolan. But Amal Reb Sheshes, and Reb Sheshes said over. So we just created a link between kablonas. If you hold umen koine b'shvach kli, you wouldn't be over baltolan by kablonas, and if you hold ein umen koine b'shvach kli, you would be over baltolan by kablonas. We created that link. So leima Reb Sheshes pliga der basi. Since Reb Sheshes says that you're over by kablonas, and if it wasn't for Abasi, we would have been happy to learn pshat this way. So maybe Reb Sheshes argues with Abasi. Maybe that's good for the machlokes. If you hold umen koine b'shvach kli, you would hold that kablonas has no chiyuv of baltolan. But if you hold Ein Umen Koine B'shvach Kli, there will be. Zok to Gemara, Amar Shmuel Bar Acha B'Shlicha de Igrasa. No, you know what shlichas we're referring to? The shlichas that we're referring to is you asked him to deliver a letter for you. There's no shvach, but it's definitely a kablonis. So Reb Sheshes' discussion of is there a din of baltolan by kablonos is by a kablonis where there's no shvach. So therefore, it's not involved. It has nothing to do with the shaila of umen koine b'shvach kli. It's a case of kablonos where there is no shvach. There's no makkah to be koine anything. We just ask you to deliver a letter. Zok Rashi b'shlicha digros the kablonasi. I didn't hire you by the hour. But he come Rab Sheshes, the over, the lek, the shvach, and the likli, even those kabbalas. And it's a whole different shaila of does the halacha of Latal apply to kabbalah.
That's the Uber.
That's right. Let us say that this question of woman kind of b'shvakli is a machlokes tonight. The woman tells a man, "Here is gold. I want you to craft for me out of this gold beautiful jewelry." I guess the husband was a craftsman. Aseli shirayim nizamin v'tabois v'kadosh lach, and I will, in because of the value that you create for me, I'm going to accept your kedusha. Kivan sha'asan, the moment these jewelry is made, even before it's handed back to the woman, mikudeshes. He already provided that value will be mikudeshes. Divrei Reb Meir, that is the sheet of Reb Meir. Until he actually gives it back to her. My moment. What is moment that the moment has to reach your hand according to the Chum and not according to Reb Meir? If it's like I touched it, that the question is, does he have to give her back those jewelry that he made or not? If that's a discussion, it doesn't make any sense. Reb Meir holds that even before he gives her back the jewelry that he crafted out of her gold, it's still in his property, but he just improved it. He just didn't give it to her yet. That Reb Meir is going to hold could be a good kedushin. How is it possible? Ela b'may mikdasha. Exactly what was the kedushin made with? He gave her nothing at all. Ela pshita my mamanach. Avada, even Reb Meir holds he had to have given her back the jewelry to affect the kedushin, and the Chum are saying even if you give back the jewelry, it doesn't help. He has to give other mois kedushin. So now we need to understand the mechanics of this machlokes. Visfarua. Let's make a couple of assumptions. So this opens up a huge shaila that we had earlier in the Masechta. When I hire you and you're working for me for multiple hours, whether it's kablanos, whether it's skiris, it doesn't matter. Let's say I give you a job, it's a 10-hour job. So do we say that the moment you incur enough labor that it adds up to a pruta, boom, I owe you the pruta on the spot, and now it automatically becomes a loan as if I borrowed that money from you? Or do you say, I don't owe you a penny until the last second? At the last second, there's now a key for me to pay you $10,000. What's the nafkamina? The nafkamina is if it's a halva or not. What's the difference if it's halva or not? We know most of us hold mekadosh b'milva in mukadeshes. If a woman borrows money from me and now she just owes me money, I can't be mekadosh with that money because a milva lights on it. There's no money here. It's just a heskayvus. What object am I being mekadosh with? Right? Unless it's the hanos mechilas milva, that's a different story. So if you hold yesh l'shchis mitchil vatzoif, at the end of the work, if she's moichel or if I'm moichel my pay, I want to be mekadosh with the pay. If I'm moichel my pay, there's nothing left because it's all halva. But if you hold ein l'shchis ela b'soif, right at the end, when I'm turning over the product, at that point it's a heskayvus for her to pay me $5,000, and I'm moichel at that time. There's what to be mekadosh with. So yesh l'shchis mitchil vatzoif, ein l'shchis ela b'soif. That machlokes would determine if at the end of my job, if I could be mekadosher with the value of my work. Sorry? Every second. That's a beautiful, beautiful kasha. I was applying to speak it up, but now that you raised the issue, I want to learn it Tosfos inside. Lo Shalom doesn't get triggered, as I mentioned earlier, until you give the object back. So that doesn't get, no matter what. So we'll see that in a second. We're a little bit behind, but I'm going to push. So Dr. Gemara, let's make an assumption. Which means we're going to have a problem. Where is the kesef kedushin? Sorry?
The cash out of my or the chacham. Now, if you say yes,
There's no much kedushin according to anybody
until he gives it back.
No, even if you give it back, it's all milbury. If you hold the it's all milbury. So how could this be a good kedushin according to your mayor? According to Chum, you're giving her more. No, you're giving her another ring. You're giving her a new case of kedushin. But where is the case of kedushin according to your mayor? My love, well, your mayor's and therefore you're not. You own the jewelry. If you own the jewelry, you can be mekadosher with that jewelry. and therefore you have to give separate the money. Beautiful. We have a raya that is a machlokes of Owen Kohen B'Shvachli or not.
But Ramaya doesn't say that he has to give it back.
The Gemara right away said, "Ilema Oisamamin." The Gemara first established, of course, you have to give it back. That's ugadet. That's the very first thing that the Gemara told back. Maybe you can say everybody holds ein umin kohen b'shvachli. Ella hacha b'yeshna l'schis b'tchila b'tzayv kamepeli. Maybe the machlokes is good for that. Reb Meir said ein l'schis ella b'tzayv. So right at the end when they give it over to her, that triggers the chiyuv. There amoichalit. So there is a kedushin there. Rabban said yeshna l'schis b'tchila b'tzayv. Viva yitema the chulam yeshna l'schis b'tchila b'tzayv and ein umin kohen b'shvachli. V'hacha b'mekadosh b'mekadosh kamepeli. Reb Meir said b'mekadosh b'mekadosh. Rabban said b'mekadosh b'mekadosh. So before we turn over the Amid to find another way to learn the machlokes, I just want to point out Tosfos that mentions what Mati said. But what Mati said over here. Tosfos says it over here. He says over here that Avadi have to give it back. Okay, here it is. V'oid oimeri. Elbamai Makacha. Oimeri, the Svarahu, she'ein mukadeshes b'mashem moichel lo scharai, afilu lo yehei umen koine b'shvachli, elo milva yesh le'alev u'moichel ein mukadeshes. You know why? She'ein daita lehiskadish at she'evoyu asherayim v'nizam liyada. First of all, there's no havamina that there'll be any kedushin here unless she gets it back. V'oid oimeri v'nir lo iker, she'afilu shneim roichim she'yechulu what if they make up that even before she gets it back, I'm moichel the work that I did, and that should be the kedushin. Ein mekudeshes ava b'shemeschayeves loy rishon rishon levishayesh l'schitz b'tchil v'atzoyv even shein yochel l'toiva b'din schorai ad she'yigeh mammon liyada. We already learned you have no fear when you're an uman and you're doing something for somebody. Even if you hold yesh l'schitz b'tchil v'atzoyv, you can't knock on the door every minute and say, "Give me another dollar, give me another dollar." You can only ask for a first penny after you return the product. So therefore, until he actually gives it back, Klor, there's nothing to talk about. After he gives it back, then we can discuss what's going on over here. Is all these chayvos coming at this time? Did it come little by little in the past? Okay. I guess not. Now,
he has the past. He has the whole
you're right, but that's the whole point. Today, what am I going to do with your old pair of shoes? It's garbage. But then every little thing was a davar chashuv. So your pair of shoes could be very valuable to me. Okay, so we had either it's totally in Omen Chaim B'Shvachli, or it's totally in the shaila of Yesh L'Schis B'Tchil B'Tzoyv, or Yesh L'Schis B'Tzoyv, or it's totally in the shaila of Mekadosh B'Milva. But we have one other option. We actually learned this sugi. This is Mamish Chazor. Rav Amar the Chulam Yesh L'Schis B'Tchil B'Tzoyv, and the Chulam Mekadosh B'Enu Kadeshes, and the Chulam Enu Mekadosh B'Shvachli. So how in the world could it be Mukadesh over here? Of course, she didn't give him enough gold to make. She gives him a little bit of gold, and she describes this elaborate jewelry that she wants. Of course, it's not going to be enough. He had to add gold to it, so he added a little bit to fulfill the style that she looked for. The question is, what is her? Sure, she's getting that's a ketz of kedushin. She's giving her something, but when she was willing to accept the kedushin, what was she focused on? Was she focused on that little bit, or did she want the big jewelry? Reb Meir Sover Milva Pruta Daita Pruta. She's a Polish lady. In other words, even though there's so much more here, that Pruta is a davar chashuv by her, and she's willing to be mekadosh herself for that. Rabban Sover no Milva Pruta Daita Milva. She only wants to accept the big thing for the kedushin. Unfortunately, it doesn't work. So therefore, she's not mekudeshes.
I don't know anybody who's focused on one.
Okay, very good. Zok to Gemara. Rabban and Savri Milva Pruta Daita Milva. So now we have four different machlokes to play with, right? We have Yesh L'Schis B'Tchil B'Tzoyv, we have Mekadosh B'Milva, we have Milva Pruta Daita Milva or Daita Pruta, and we have Umin Kodesh B'Shvachli. We look down at Tanoim, and we actually have Tanoim that illustrate this machlokes. The Tanya, and we learned this already. What if a man tells a woman, "I'm gonna work for you. I'm gonna work for you." Or I worked for you. I just worked for you. I just mowed your lawn. For the schar that I'm entitled to for mowing your lawn, I want to be mekadosh you with that schar. The halacha is ein mukadeshes. What about the schar she'esa imcha? I'm going to mow your lawn, and in the schar that you're going to have to pay me for mowing your lawn in the future, there I want the kedushin to happen. That's mikudeshes. What's the difference? The difference is very simple. Even if you hold einless chirs el b'soy, right? So if you hold einless chirs el b'soy, I could tell you I'm going to mow your lawn, and in that schar I'll be mikudeshes. So that's very good. I mow your lawn. You owe me $20. I'm moichel it, and there's the kedushin. But if I mowed your lawn yesterday, it's only a milva at this point because I finished already. It's past the einless chirs el b'soy. So if I want to be mikalish with the $20 that you owe me from yesterday, that won't work. But I hold einless chirs el b'soy. B'schar she'esi imach will work. Rab Nosson Neimer, b'schar she'esi imach doesn't either work any mukadeshes. Why? Because he holds yeshna l'skis with chila batzoif, and because you can b'schar she'esi imach. Surely, if you did it yesterday, Rabbi Danasi Amar Omer, be'emes amar bein b'schar she'esi imach u'bein b'schar she'esi imach any mukadeshes, because he agrees with Rabbi Yehuda that yeshna l'skis with chila batzoif, but b'mhoisav la'noivech mishaloi. But if he also gives her a penny after he does the work for her, mikudeshes. Talking more about Tanakam or Rab Nosson, the machlokes between Tanakam and Rab Nosson, he could be dive skiers. The machlokes is if yesh no skiers mit chila vatzoif, or yesh no skiers el b'soif. When Rab Nosson Rab Yehuda Hanasi, he could be nayim milver pruta. So you see, well, these two machlokes and all coming together with these three sheetas.
I understand if the why if Amnashe es would be
Amasha would be because ain't no skiers el b'soif. So when I finish the work, the kedusha will happen right then and there. Of course, he's going to do it. It means after he does it. If someone says, "I read Mekudeshes the tabasu," and you don't give the tabas, it's not Mekudeshes. But that's he gave the tabas. I'm sorry. That milvu pruta, that's a pruta. That's all word. Milvu pruta, that's a pruta. Because she's only focusing on the work, and the work is not there. Amar Shmuel, tabach uman shekilka. You have a professional shochet, and he messed up the shechita. Chayv l'shalom, he's got to pay for the animal. He made a valuable animal into a nevela. Mazaku, Shmuel has no mercy on this guy. Mazaku, he's a mazik poisheyahu. Nasa ka'omer lo yishchait li mikan v'shochat li mikan. As I told the shech there, he shechted there. Now, why didn't Shmuel just say chayiv? Why is Shmuel so hard on this poor guy? Lo malei l'meimer mazaku poisheyahu. The teretz is Shmuel had to make a very important point. Iyamar mazaku. If he just said mazaku, well, then I would think that he's not a pesheya. He's just a mazik. So havamina hanamili heicha deka abed b'schar. Really, he's not considered. She's considered an oinus, and even though you say adamud loylam, like we discussed, by an oinus gomer, you don't say adamud. But since he's getting paid, that gives him a higher level of responsibility. What if he was doing the shechita for free? Maybe then he would be potter. Maybe you will say he's not mechuyev. Kamash malon pesheyahu. So Shmuel had to throw in, he's also a pesheya. So even if he did it bechinam, he's still going to be chayv. Someone gave a behema to a shaychid b'nibla, and he messed up the shechita. The loch is umin potter hedjit chayv. If he's a noman, he's going to be potter because he's not a pesheya. He knows what he's doing. But if he's an amateur, then he's chayv. You see, this is going to be a steer to Shmuel, right? Because Shmuel said, no matter what, you're chayv. V'im noisin schar, and if you accept money, then Yenyit ben Yuman would be chayv. So the problem is, Shmuel said you're chayv no matter what, even if you didn't take money. Amar lei, so Shmuel got a little bit upset at Reb Chaim bar Guria, who was hacking him with a kasha that was not a good kasha. And he said something very sharp. La'acher morkach asa ahu mirabana. Rashi Mayim Akurim, you're coming, your mind should become cloudy. You're hacking me a China. Why? What's the problem? Also, Amalei told him as follows: Hasta shaklas my the shakla. Take what your friend got. I guess maybe somebody else also asked about kasha, and Shmuel's answering in a sharp fashion. But this is the teretz. Kamin honor of mayor. I was telling you that whether he's paid or not, he's mechuyev for the damages to the animal. That's only according to the sheet of Reb Meir, who's more harsh on the chiyuv of a person of being mud loylam. But Kamrishali, and you're asking me a kasha from a brisa that's going according to the Rabbanon, who is less harsh and only holds that the person is going to be chayiv if he was paid. And therefore, Shmuel's upset. Amalei daikas mili. You should have listened to my words. I didn't just say chayiv. I was very descriptive. I said mazaku paishayahu. You should have Thought to yourself, what did I mean to say with those extra words? Shani Omer Mazaku Bashehu Nasa Ka'omer Lo Shchait L'Mikan V'Shchachat L'Mikan. I was very wordy. Why was I very wordy? Because I wanted to point you into the direction of who Shita I was following. Man Islay Hai Svara Reb Meir. The Amar Mi Boyalei Lemir Nafsh. Reb Meir holds that even though I'm not paying, there's a higher level, a higher degree of schayvus that a person has. You should have known from my wordiness, from my elaboration, that I was going to go to Reb Meir. And you're going to ask me a kasha from the Rabban who don't hold people to such a high level of scrutiny? So the Gemara says, hi Reb Meir. Which Reb Meir is it? The Gemara is coming to the defense of the person who asked the kasha. I didn't even know about the Reb Meir. He didn't know about the Reb Meir. I didn't even know. What do you want from me? I'm not talking about the Reb Meir. And the Gemara even struggles to find this Reb Meir. So at the end of the day, Reb Chaim Bar wasn't so bad. The Gemara advised this Reb Meir. So Dr. Ilay Mahar Reb Meir, if it's the following Reb Meir, the Gemara is going to attempt two, which is going to be not work, and then the third Reb Meir is going to be the Reb Meir we're looking for. So the first Reb Meir is Etnan. Kashu Bala B'Meseira. This we learned. What is the level of shmir a person is responsible for his animal? What if he ties it up well with a rein? V'nol b'fan of Karayu. He seemed to have done a good job of protecting his animal. V'yatzav Hizik. Bein Tam, Bein Mu'ud Chayiv will be Chayiv. The Reb Meir. Even though there's a nidus, he did his job properly. So you see, there's a higher level of Chayiv, even though you're not being paid. So Gemara, no, that's not the Reb Meir we're looking for. Because Hasan B'Kroi Pligi. If you remember, there were special psukim over there that we learned from, that there's a higher level of shmira required. So that's not a right. Elahar Reb Meir, maybe it's the following Reb Meir. If I hire you to dye it red, and you purposely went and deviated from my instructions, and you painted it, you dyed it black, or you're mechuyev to pay. Frankly, more that's not the Reb Meir. Hasan b'yadayim kolumim. There he did the mazik b'yadayim. There, of course, you're mechuyev to pay. We're talking about someone who would happen inadvertently. That can't be our Reb Meir. Ella Reb Meir. All of these Reb Meirs are all in our Masechta. We get a chazara of the Reb Meirs of Bava Kama. Ditnan nishbur kadei v'loisel. What if by mistake? Ditnan nishbur kadei v'loisel. What if by mistake you dropped your jug and it's broken on the floor and you didn't clear it away fast enough? Or nafla glamala, your camel fell down below Amida, and then someone came and tripped over it. Reb Meir Chayiv b'niskan, Chayiv b'niskan. I didn't even have a chance to pick it up. If I waited there 3 days and it's there, memela, but I didn't have a chance to pick it up. The Gemara over there explained that you know why Reb Meir holds Chayiv? If you fumble something and it falls down, that itself, Reb Meir holds us a pesheya. We consider that a pesheya. You by mistake you dropped it. Why is that a pesheya? Because Reb Meir holds people to a higher level of responsibility, and therefore he's chayiv. Using that Reb Meir, you could understand why over here I said the person's chayiv no matter what. But the Rabbanan don't hold this called pesheya. Person makes a mistake like that, he's not a pesheya, and therefore if he's an omen, he'll be potter unless he was paid. Amar Rabba Bar Chana Amar B'Yochanan. Tabak umen shekilkel, a tabak umen that was makalkel chayiv. Va'afilu hu umen kitav kitzipori, who were known to be the biggest bekiyim in shchita. Frank Amar Amar B'Yochanan, did Rabbi Yochanan say that? The Amar Rabba Bar Chana. Rabba Bar Chana told us. There was a story that happened in front of Rabbi Yochanan. They knished in the mine, in the keil of mine. You know what he said? He said, "Zil Isi Raya, the mamchis l'tarnegayim." If you could bring me a raya that you're in fact an expert, a professional, means you're not a pesheya, then va'afterach, then I will patter you from paying. So how could you say Rabbi Yochanan holds, even if you're omen ketav chitzapur, you'll be chayiv? You see, Allah l'maisa, Rabbi Yochanan was going to patter. Dr. Malakasha, kan b'chinam kan b'tzar. When does Rabbi Yochanan say you're chayiv even though you're an omen ketav chitzapuri? That's if you were paid. But if you're not paid, then of course you're going to be potter if you were not a pesheya, if you're truly an expert. What if you're hiring a sheikhet and you want to make sure that if he fumbles it, he'll have to pay you? You want insurance? Yakim like dinner, pay him a little bit. Because once you pay him a little bit, then he's chayiv even for it. Meisvei. Hamoilech chitim litrei. There are tradesmen, their umness is they're grinders. You bring them wheat and they grind it. Now, in order to have very nice, fine flour, they first have to soak the wheat, and after they soak it, then they grind it. That's a nice flour. If they don't soak it, it'll be very bad flour. So he didn't soak them, so he was a pesheya. And because of that, it's not fine flour. You gave him nice, soft flour to a baker. Kemach l'nachtoim, he gave nice white flour to nachtoim, but also he passed nipulim, and he made a messed up cake. Or behemel tabach, which is our case, benibla, and he made it into nevela chayiv. Why? It's mashma, even though you're doing it for free, you're treated like a shomer sofer. So it's once again shver, and what we're saying that only if you pay. So no, maybe means if you paid, then there'll be a chiyav even for none of not know. Who megrumta? Now there's 5 psula shchita. There's shehiyah if you pause during the shchita. There's drasa if you put pressure on the knife. That's going to be a psula shchita. Chalada is if you have the knife covered over. Ikor is if you stick the knife into the neck and you rip the simonim out. And hagrama is, according to most shitas, there's a range of in the breathing pipe from where you're allowed to do the shchita, from the top to the bottom. And there's a whole bunch of rings, like cartilage rings, that the kana is made out of. And the last ring is a very big ring. And the accepted halacha is anywhere in that range you could check. Hagrama is if you start checking in the ring and then you finish the shchita out of the ring. So you didn't check in the ring. The question is, the Tanakama says that the entire shchita has to be in the ring. Even if there's like a hair's amount of ring above your knife, you're within the range. You're good. Rabbi Yosy says no. Even if I only have roiv inside and then I went out, it's good because roiv the shchita was kosher. So the Chacham hold that all has to be in the ring, and Rabbi Yosef is mekel and says it's enough if most of it is in the ring. So Huma Grumta, there was such a case. Dasoy lekamei derav. Tarfei, first of all, he made a trace. Now the owner just lost his animal. So Oibazoi, now I have recourse when you go back to the sheikh to make him pay. Upatre letavach mi l'shlumi dami. And he parted the tavach. So he sort of screwed over this petitioner, this owner, on both sides. So Pogibe Rav Kahana for Rabasi Hugaver. Rav Kahana Rabasi met this guy. Amalek had told him, Ovid Bach Rav Tarti, oh, he pulled a fast one on you. So Frektimor, is that really what they meant to say? My Tarti. Double jeopardy. Ilam Tarti Legri Usa, if he messed you up in both ways. He should have said it's kosher like Rabbi Yosef Yehuda, because roiv of it was within the tabois. And v'tarfak rabbanon, he was machmer like rabbanon, he tarfed it. V'inami rabbanon, and if you want to be machmer like rabbanon and say that it's trade, then the boiler lechiv l'tavcha, then at least you should have also been mechayiv the shoichet for messing up. Fact Gemara can't be that that's what they said. Are you allowed to do such a thing? Disparage a dayan? But Tanya, we learned when the dayanim go out, even if you're the dissenting opinion, lo yomer ani mizaka. I rather was the dissenting opinion. I would have passed like you. But chaveri mechay. Avon what should I do? Shechaveri rabu alai. That's why I have to admit that I voted for the doors being locked. I'm allowed to say that I voted. I can't say I voted that they shouldn't be locked. Yenna did it. I actually took responsibility. I said I voted to be locked. Right? If I would have said that it wasn't my fault, I said it was my fault. Right? A hoilich rachel is someone who spills the beans on everything. They meant a compliment. With Rav Paskin for you, he did a double good thing for you. He didn't allow you to eat a Safek Yisr because maybe according to the Rabbanon and according to the Tanakama it would have been possible. So he prevented you from eating that. And it's also Safek Zela because maybe we don't pass in Luchum or maybe we pass in Lukula and therefore he can't make you pay. So if I get Rav did you good, he protected you from doing others. Itmar, let's discuss last couple of lines. I want to go quickly. What if you are not sure if this is legal tender and you want to show it to the bank? Is this $100 bill good or not? And B'nim Tzara, the Shulchan said, no, this is good money, accept it. And it turned out it was counterfeit money. So who's liable? We have one brayta that says if it was a real woman, he's potter because he's innocent, he did his best. A hedjit is chayiv because what business do you have assessing coins? Amar Papa, Kitanya Uman Potter. Where do we say Uman is Potter? That's only someone who's an expert of all experts. Going Danku ve'Isser the Latrichel Mikmar Cloud. They know everything. If you're such a super expert, one in the world, yes, then you're considered an oinus if you were wrong. So if they know everything so well, how can they make a mistake? They just came out with a new edition of a coin that they weren't aware of. So they didn't realize yet that this happened. They cited the Nafik Metuse Sichta, because they just happened to have a new situation. So let's look at this case. She showed a dinner to Reb Chia, who's also an expert. Amr Lay, he said, Ma'ali, it's good. L'macher also lakamei. The next day she comes back and she told him, Amr Lay, I showed it and I wanted to use it in the bank. Amr Lay told me it's bad. So you messed me up. I accepted something. You told me it was good. It was bad. But economically, they didn't want to accept it. So Rabchi accepted the loss. Amr Lay Rav, he told Rav, who was in charge of his finances, Zil Chafin Halay, I'll take it, swap it out for her. The cost of a pankasi, how should you register this loss in my books? Din asak pish. I did a bad deal. It's a write-off. That's what you should write in my books. Fake the more. Maishna donkey the isur. The patiri. Why are they potter? We shouldn't let trichel migvah. They're experts. Rabchi was also an expert. Rabchi and Dami lav migvah kaplai. The tomar Rabchi lefnim mishur sedin hu avad. He did lefnim mishur sedin. He did Tanya Yosef. It says vaydat lahem zeh beis chayayim. That Rashi says is to learn Torah. Esaderach is zu gemil chasadim. Yelchu zu bikar chaylim. Ba zu kvura. But the question is why is Bika Cholim and Kvur not included in that in Gemilas Chasadim? We'll see that tomorrow. As Samai says, Hadin, Asher Yasin, Zul of Nimishur Sadin. He didn't have to pay, he paid the Nimishur Sadin. Everybody knows the famous story where a fellow told his friend, you want to be rich? I could be rich. I have a printing press. I can print you as much money as you want. What happened was he goes to the trunk of his car and he opens up the trunk of his car to show all the money that he just printed, and it turned out he had printed $1 million in $7 bills. So he thinks, so he's a boy, what $7 bills? What am I going to do with $7 bills? Right? So his friend says, you know what? I know how to get rid of money. I'll fix this for you. Give it to me. They get into the car. They drive up to upstate New York where there's derfalich, and the guy buys $15 worth of gas. Right? He buys $15 worth of gas, and he gives the guy 2 sevens. Right? He gives the guy 2 sevens, and he was going to get back change $1. What?
$14.
Oh.
And he bought $15.
Oh, so it could be
$15.
so could be he bought could be he bought let's say he bought $15 of gas and he gave 3 sevens. Right? So the guy owes him $6. Right? So he gives him 3 sevens, and the guy at the cash says, well, what in heavens is this? What are you giving me? A $7 bill? He says, you didn't hear? Just yesterday, it was in the Wall Street Journal. It was on the front cover of the Wall Street Journal that they just minted now a new bill, $7 bill. So this devil guy says, I don't get the New York Times. I don't get the Wall Street Journal. I'm not there for it. Okay, if you say so, I'll give you change. They gave him back 2 threes. So that's mamish the case over here. He didn't know about the latest bill that came out.